Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am back again with another Pink and Main Crafty Courtyard subscription box. This one, of course, is for April. Excuse me, and the theme is You're Out of This World. And this is a great kit. So again, these are available. They do have a limited number of spots for the April boxes. Now remember, if you're already a subscriber, you do not need to order again. Remember, the April kit will ship on the 15th of April, but it is open now for if more people want to subscribe, basically. If you already are subscribed, remember, you will be billed on the 10th. If this is your first box that you're going to receive, you will receive this free gift, the hello and the hi, the outline and the solid with the matching dies. So now if you've already received that, if you started in March, you will not get that again. So this is the kit. It comes in the beautiful pink box. It also includes, now disregard my box. Unfortunately, mine was delivered in a major rainstorm, so everything's kind of wobbly, but I was able to straighten it out. That is not how your box will look. So yeah. So this is your cardstock that you will get. You will get 2 pieces of 110-pound ice rink cardstock, and then you will also get some basil colors. So pink, there's a blue, a purple, a bright green, a bright pink, and black. All of your other kit contents come in this awesome zipper bag. I love the zipper bag. The first thing that you get a 6x6 paper pad called Galaxy Foil. And these papers are great. These stars are actually foiled in a silver. So you have very different color combinations for all of these papers. So you've got some purples and blues, you've got some dark blues and some blues, you've got some teals, some pinks. So a good choice selection. I can't say the other word because I just never can say it. It sounds funny. Of course, you get 4 envelopes for the cards that you're going to make. You also get 3 yards each of a solid and a white and purple twine. You get a packet of their sequins, and you will also get a packet of their glossy dots. You will get one of their ink pads, and this is in Barbershop Surface. You also get a jar of Wow embossing powder in Iris, and that embossing powder is really cool. It's like a mixture of pinks, light purples, dark purples. It's really cool. A white jelly roll pen. Here is our awesome 6x6 stamp set. So it is a layering set. It's an impression of the moon in the shape of a heart, which is really cool. And you get a stencil of stars. So it's a great builder for your stash. There's lots of items here that you can use to create your cards. This is the card that comes in it. So they give you what the color palette is, which I think is great. You know, if you have other items in your stash, you can combine them. But at least you can see that color palette right in front of you. So all of this is part of the subscription. And I forgot to show the most adorable little button. I think they're really cute. And it says you're a shining star. So let's get started into card 1. So for card 1, I grabbed a circle die from my stash. And I'm working right on my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, just through the top layer. I don't want to go through all the layers. Okay, so remember, you want to make sure you open it back up. Go ahead and ask me why I keep stressing that. Okay, so we're going to take the card base, and I want to set this up in my stamp positioner. And I'm going to set one of the heart shapes down over the circle. I'm then going to open it up secure it in place, and I'm going to stamp the layer of the heart, all 3 layers. The colors that I'm using are my Altenew colors, and they are the Gentleman Gray set, the recent one that was released. I don't have the colors right in front of me right now, but they'll be linked down below. So here comes the next layer, and I'm using my microfiber cloth to prep them so that they can take the ink better, to give a better impression. I either use my cloth, or I'll use my hand or the palm of my hand to season the stamps, especially if you have a big solid stamp like the first layer was. So now I'm going to come in with the final layer, and I will say that these layering stamps are very easy to match up. And again, even if you're off a little bit, it's okay. You know, again, we don't have to, every time we stamp, it will be different. So, you know, you don't have to, now, of course, you don't want to be like 3 inches off, you know, that could be a little different, but it could be cool looking. But again, it's okay if you are a little bit off, but these are very easy to match up with each other, and to line up. So on the inside, I'm also going to stamp congratulations. And I'm just going to stamp that a couple times with the darkest of the grays. I'm going to real quick clean that up, because I'm then going to fold this down, put my magnet in place, and now I'm going to stamp the sentiment for the outside. The sentiment that I chose is, I'm over the moon, excited for you. So this could be anything. It could be a birthday, it could be a new job, it could be anything that you would want it to be. But it was the sentiment that inspired me. So, okay, over the moon, excited for you. So just the circle, it looks like the moon. And then when you open it up, it's the heart. Okay. You know, again, the sentiments, you know, everything inspires us. For some reason, I love to do a play on sentiments. I don't know why. It always seems to happen. But, so I thought this was cute. I'm going to use the glossy dots. Okay, back to the card. I'm going to use the glossy dots, and I'm going to set them around my card just to give it a little bit more of an accent. And that's pretty much this card. So again, it looks like the moon in the front, and when you open it, you see the heart. It was the sentiment that got me. So of course, I have to pull out my favorite frame die from Pink and Main, and that's my Cloudy Frames. I love this die. I just love the way that it looks. So what I'm going to do is I used one of the pattern papers, and I used the second in the frame set. And now I'm going to do the same thing with a white piece of cardstock. So I wanted to just strengthen the pattern paper just a little bit, make it a little bit thicker. So I have these 2 panels, and of course I thought of that after the fact. That's why I cut it separately. But I'm going to adhere the pattern paper onto the white cardstock. Again, just to give it a little strength. I want to make a shaker card. So you know that when we make shaker cards, you know, if they go through the mail, they can get crushed. And I didn't want anything to happen with that pattern paper. I just wanted to make sure it was a strong surface. So after they're adhered, I grabbed another piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to trim this up just a little bit. I see some of the white coming through. And what I want to do is, there's some stamping that I'm going to do on the panel that's to the back. So I could have used another pattern paper just to give it, you know, more of a sky look. But I really wanted to use these shooting stars and the stars. So I'm just going to stamp that. I marked out the center of where that cutout's going to sit on my back panel. And now I'm just going to go through and just keep stamping these, the stars and the shooting stars. And I want to use the Wow embossing powder that came in the kit. Because it just looked really interesting. It's a very different embossing powder, and I just want to see what it would do. So I'm going to, you can see how it goes down, how you've got these different colors going in. So there's some pinks in there, there's some purples, and it looks like it's variegated as it goes up. So it's really cool. I think you'll like it. I'm going to erase my pencil lines because I actually remembered to do that. And now we're just going to build up our shaker card. So we can get that built up with double-sided foam tape. I'm going to first put my acetate sheet down. I do like to use liquid glue. I think it's a mind thing for me. To me, the liquid glue is going to hold stronger than my tape runner. So I am a liquid glue. I do think that there's a better adhesion point for things to stick together, if that makes sense. So once that's in place, I will double up my foam tape and also put that around the frame and then build up the bottom. I do want the whole area to be open so that, one, you can see the embossing that I did in the background and also the few sequins that I'm going to put in there. I don't want to put too many of them because I don't want to take away the embossing that I did. So I still want to be able to see that. But these sequins are great. There's a mixture of stars and also some of the confetti. You can add, more to that if you want, whatever you like to put in there. If it was a smaller area and I didn't do any embossing, I would have just filled that up because the more the better, right? I'm going to set my back panel in place. And this was cut to the same size as what the top panel is, so we should be good. But if we had to, all we would have to do is just trim away some of the white in the background. I do like to make my shaker panels, what I call them, and then adhere them to my card bases. And again, all the cards that were made today for this video are standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The sentiment I chose is "You're out of this world." So you can see I'm going to just prop up or adhere my shaker panel to my card base. So I've got this little tiny white border that's going around it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stamp that on the inside. Sometimes we do all of this work on the front. We don't have to put a sentiment on the front. It can go on the inside so that it's a little bit of a surprise for the recipient. I am going to use the Barbershop Surface ink pad because I think it's a beautiful, it's almost like an ultramarine blue. Yeah, maybe? That's what I say. But I could be wrong. But it's a really nice bright blue. For our next card, I'm using a piece of the pattern paper again, and I love the dark colors that are going through that. I have a small piece of a white cardstock. It's actually the center from the previous card that we just made from the shaker when I cut out the second layer for the front. And I'm going to position some of the sentiment and some of the stars, and I'm going to use some silver embossing powder to set this in place. I just wanted, of course that says "You're a shining star," and I wanted that to stand out, so it's just a simple little white panel on top of the pattern paper. I am going to use the twine, and I'm going to use both of them together, and I'm just going to wrap them around the bottom, again, just to give the card some texture. And I will be propping that panel up because with all of the twine that I used, it would be crooked if I didn't. The bottom would be raised. So by propping it up, it kind of helps to even that panel out for me. I'm going to attempt to tie a bow, which I cannot do at all. It's not a good thing, but I'm kind of doing pretty good here. But of course I didn't leave too long of tails. But using the tweezers works. I saw that on, I think it was Amy R. Her video, she's the one that uses that, so great idea. It was phenomenal. I have the twine going on an angle, so when I put my double-sided foam tape down, I'll actually make sure that it stays on that angle, and I will put a piece down on the bottom. Again, it's just going to secure the twine to stay in place on top of that panel. And here I'm just going to trim that piece down so that it'll sit just below it. So again, kind of trapping the twine, so forcing it to stay in place. I'm going to remove my release paper, and I will set this right in the center of my panel. This will be set again onto a standard A2 size card base with a small white border going around. So it has a great impact, but again, just using the contents from the kit, I think it's pretty cool. It does accent off of the foiled stars that are from the paper, and I am going to pull in some glossy dots. Of course, I'm fighting with the glossy dots because that's what I do. And now I'm figuring out how to win. And we're just going to set them around. For the last card, I've kind of went... Oh, no, not the last card. I don't think... No! Second to last card. So we had to use the stencil. So I also dug into my Nouveau Mousses. So the first color here is Spring Green. And you can see I applied the tape to the back. So this panel is actually adhered to the stencil itself. And I'm going to use all 4 of these colors. So the next color that's coming in now is Aquamarine, and I'm going to go right over the base of the Spring Green, and I'm just going to put a thin layer of the Aquamarine underneath of it. Whatever is excess, I'm going to put back into the pot. The next color that we're going to come in with is Coastal Surf, so it's a little bit darker than the Aquamarine. And again, I'm going to layer over the Aquamarine just a little bit. Now, even though I'm going down pretty far with this, that's okay, because the last color, the Pacific Teal, is pretty dark. It's a beautiful color. But it will actually override or cover over any of those stars that I want to go into the darker shade. So I'm creating this variegated panel from light to dark, actually going from a green to a dark blue. And that's what our panel will look like. So I'm just going to let that set, and it doesn't take long to dry. So our panel is ready. I'm going to use the Congratulations sentiment, and I wanted to try the embossing powder, the iris embossing powder that came in the kit, and what it would look like on black, because I had to know. It actually came out pretty cool. So I prepped my cardstock, stamped my image using my Versamark, and then coated it with the embossing powder and heated it with my heat tool. I clean up my cardstock from the embossing static powder with a microfiber cloth. I'm going to trim this down using my Fiskars trimmer because it's got that metal wire. I have never had a problem with the metal wire, but it helps me to get right up close to the sentiment so that I can trim that as close as I can. I'm going to use my double-sided foam to prop this up, and I'm going to straddle that on an angle across the front. So you can see the embossing powder, you see it on black, and it kind of creates, it's almost a, it's a pearlescent look. So there's pearlescent powder in there. So it's pretty cool. I didn't want to take this panel straight down onto a white card base, and usually I do. Not only do I'm normally using a standard A2 size top folding card base, it's just what I gravitate to, but it's usually 9 out of 10 white as well. So sometimes if I use a white panel, I like that look if I raise it. But if I'm putting it directly down, I do like to have this little border, just a slight border of color coming off of that. So I did choose one of the pattern papers just to back that. And again, it's the thinnest line that goes around it, but I do think that it makes that panel pop. Now that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it will cover the entire front of my card base. But again, it just helps to frame it just a little bit. Now we're on the last card. So I'm going back to the layered stamp. Now the only layer that I'm using is the second layer. I'm not going to use the first or the third, but just the second one. So I'm actually just going to stamp this layer all over my cardstock. The embossing powder that I'm going to use is the embossing powder that was in the March kit from Pink and Main, and it's this beautiful glitter. It's metallic silver, and it's just all of this glitter. So I really wanted to just cover this whole panel up, and that's pretty much what I did. I just kept on stamping, turning, twisting, and putting this all over. Now the cardstock that I'm using here is a Bristol. It's a Bristol smooth cardstock because there's going to be a lot of water that's about to hit this. When it came to the heart and the moon image that's set in there, I just saw all of these wicked colors. I'm sorry for the term wicked. But just these brights and darks and just something different. So I pulled out my Delusion sprays. I'm using Fresh Lime, London Blue, and Vibrant Turquoise. And I'm using my spray box because I would get this all over the place. And I'm just adding these colors just a little bit. I do bring in a pair of tweezers. I tried to keep my hands. I mean, usually I would go right into that and, you know, pick it up. We're good. So the colors are going to mix. They're going to blend with each other. Now, they are sitting on top of the embossing, and that's okay. I come in real quick with my heat tool just to get the majority of it dry. I keep it far away so that I don't remelt all of that embossing powder. I'm going to come in with my microfiber cloth, and I'm just wiping away some of the color. I'm dabbing it. I don't need, you know, all of that. And plus I was impatient. Let's be real. I was very impatient. I was really having fun with this one. Now I'm coming in with a shimmer mix that I have. And I'm just dropping droplets all over with that. Not caring what it looks like, because you can see I'm shaking it now. Because I want them to... And you can see as I'm picking them up, you can see the lines. There's like trail lines that came from them. Once it was completely dry, I am going to trim this panel down. And I'm going to trim it down to 4 by 5 1/4. And again, I'm just looking at how much from each side's coming off. I don't want to lose too much of the details from the moon impression in the shape, you know, in the heart-shaped moon impression. But I really like that. It looks like it's a galaxy. So I had a lot of fun with that. Now I'm going to pull in some of the cardstock because, of course, I want to back this. I was going to go with the textured one, but I thought it was too light. I wanted to go very bright when it came to this, so I did choose the bright pink. Now, the tape that I'm using here is a very, very strong, double-sided tape that I use when it comes to my watercolor panels or my Bristol panels if I used a lot of water on them, because they will warp. I will use my little brayer here just to push that down so that I can get that flat. Alright, so those are the two tools that you're seeing there. I think the pink really pulls it out. I think it's really cool looking. I have my card base here, and I'm going to adhere that right to the front, and I will use my liquid glue for that. And the way that I've cut this, there will be a white panel on each side of the design. Not on the top or the bottom, but just on each side. And it's very, very thin. Again, sometimes you just don't need a lot to show. So for the sentiment, I'm going to use the same pink cardstock. And the sentiment that I'm choosing is Love You to the Moon. And again, we've got so many bright colors going on here. I wanted to continue that. So it's almost, you know, like a psychedelic look. So I'm going to use the Barbershop Surface ink onto the pink. So I've got this blue and pink that are going to combat each other. And then I'm going to trim that down. Now, I did stamp it towards the right-hand side. And that's okay, because that's where I wanted that to go. So the strip is going to go across the card, and the sentiment's going to still be towards the right. Again, I'm going to use my wire trimmer. Just to make sure that is even. I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape to prop this up, and then just to find the spot that I'm looking for, because again, I didn't want to cover anything up. Wanted to make sure that all of the embossing that we did with the images are visible, and you can see the details of the moon impression. It took me a while to find a spot, or to make sure that it was straight. I was actually focusing on that. I was going to put some sequins down, but then I wanted to come in with the white gel pen. So to always start my gel pen, I put it on my finger, because our fingertips are usually warm, just to keep it going. Now, what's going to happen here, when you add a gel pen to an inked background like this, it will pick up the ink. You know, unless you use a white gouache, you know, that will stay white, but this will pick it up. So those dots that are already there from the shimmer spray that I was using, they're going to actually react that way. So that's what I was looking for. So I'm just adding some more dots. So I do hope you enjoyed the projects that we created today using the Pink and Main, Crafty Courtyard April subscription box. So let me just reiterate a couple things here. Now, just remember, they do ask when you do subscribe that you stay for 3 months at a minimum. After the 3 months, you are more than welcome to cancel at any time within your account. And you want to do that before the payment will be due or taken, which is automatically on the 10th. Your subscription will only continue until you cancel it. Okay? You can also purchase items along with your subscription box, but they will ship separately. Now, also know that there is shipping. So, unfortunately, it's got to be in there. So for US, it looks like it's $8.50. For Canada, it's $16, and it's $24 for international. Okay? If by chance you should go there and you don't see the listing for the subscription box, that means they have sold out for that month. Doesn't mean you can never subscribe again. It just means you need to wait until the next launch, which would be for May, which will be usually towards the end of April. And once it's opened, you can subscribe again. All right, so just keep that in mind. Towards the end of April, May's will launch. Excuse me. Now remember, if this is your first time subscribing, you will have a welcome gift, which is that 3x4-inch stamp set and coordinating dies that I showed you. As long as you are also a subscriber, you will receive a 15% discount on the products when you order from the website, or also in the retail location, and if they should be at a show that you are attending. Now, you've got to give that 24 hours so that it can be activated onto your account. Also, a note about the discount. Your discount is the price you will see when you log into the website. So you won't even need a code. It's actually going to be connected to your account when you subscribe. Okay, that's easy. That's awesome. If you should stay a subscriber for a full year, you will receive a $20 store credit on your anniversary date, and that can be used on the website. So I do hope you'll look into this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. I hope this video was also helpful so that you'll know how everything is working. The product that I used will be linked down below as well, especially the link so that you can get your subscription started today. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe and tune in for my next. Here's the March kit that I had done for Pink and Maine, and a few other videos that I thought you might like. I hope everyone's having a great day. Take care, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative.